Hi, and welcome back to the Wise Dreamer podcast. I am your host, Dawn Ori, and today's episode is really me talking from the heart. I have been trying to fathom words to say over the past few weeks that I've been gone. I've missed 2 Sundays of podcasts and 1 Thursday, and I am really just grappling with what's happening in this place I call home, the country that I was born in, and then everything that's happening around the world concerning the same issues. What am I talking about? Of course, everybody should know that I am talking about racism. I'm talking about police brutality. I am talking about all the things that have been a part of my life since, gosh, for generations. It seems that some people don't understand the idea of why this struggle for black equality is so difficult. Because after all, we've got degrees now. You know, we can own our own houses now. There are no redlining. Redlining is against the law, I should say. You know, we can get mortgages now. We can have bank accounts now. We can have our children in the same schools with white people's children now, or non-white children now. We can have a fully integrated life. What is the big deal? And I guess the best way that I can answer what is the big deal is to give you an analogy. For black people in the world, not just in this country, but in the world, everywhere that has been colonized, we have, and I really can only speak from the American experience because I am an American citizen. I was American born. I can only really experience it or speak from the experience that I have learned of and I have lived myself. Peripherally, I can expound that experience to kind of give you a little bit of an understanding. Concerning police brutality, the reason why for years and years black people have not been in concert with the police is because the police were never designed to be in concert with black life. In fact, the police was originally created as a way of keeping slaves in check for slave owners. So if we try to run, if we try to have a little bit of freedom of our own, if we try to have any semblance of life outside of a plantation, where we were not bought and sold as cattle or dogs or manure or fruit or breeding property, then the slave patrol, which was badged, literally a badge, that is exactly the police badge that is being worn by every American police officer now. It literally is the same exact badge, except for the wording is changed on the badge. But the slave patrol was sent to either bring us back for punishment and punish us along the way, or if the slave who was trying to be free fought against it, they were allowed to kill us. So no, we don't like police, because police, the whole system, was never designed for us to feel loved, protected, or served. I want people to understand that the reality of that is what we teach our children. When my son started driving, I taught him to put his hands on the wheel. If he got stopped by the cops, to put his hands, both hands, on the steering wheel or on the dashboard to the left in full visibility, and to talk directly, eye contact with the police officer and answer every question, never taking his hands off of the dashboard or holding on to the steering wheel without permission from the officer, and explicit information given to them about what he was reaching for and where he was going to reach, so that they would not have any type of, how do you say, reaction that he might be a threat. That's what we teach our children. We don't teach our children that the police are out there to protect and serve them, because for the most part, they haven't been. Historically, they have begun to cart our children off to jail. I've watched video recently of a 5-year-old little girl, she had to be 5 or 6, who was having a bad day in kindergarten or first grade, I can't remember which, but I think she was in kindergarten, having a bad day in school. And rather than dealing with the 5-year-old or 6-year-old like she was a 5 or 6-year-old, the guidance counselor or the school principal or the teacher, I don't remember which, but I do remember watching the little girl being carted off from the guidance counselor's office in tears with a zip tie behind her back for handcuffs. And they led her little screaming, crying, absolutely afraid self to the police car, and the policeman lifted her up as he told her, "Oh yes, honey, you are going to jail," at 5 years old. So no, we don't have assurance that they are here to protect and serve us, because their origin says differently. And I don't care how far along you come from a space, intent initially is inbred in everything that is taught to police officers when it comes to men and women, black men and black women especially. They don't even call the person a person. They say the suspect such and such, the male such and such. They don't even say the man or the woman. They say the male or the female. Dehumanization happens at the onset of a conversation when they get ready to arrest a person. I can remember my first date with my son's father, when he had worked so hard as a photographer at a local newspaper in Detroit, the only black newspaper in Detroit, and he got, I can't remember what kind of car, but it was a really nice car, and we were on our way to dinner, and the police pulled us over. And they pulled us over, and for what seemed like forever, they grilled him. "Is this your car?" "Yes, it's my car." "Did you steal this car?" "No, I didn't steal the car." "Can I have your license? Can I have your registration? Who owns this car?" Are you sure that this is your car? They ran the license plate. They looked at the car. They looked at him. They looked at the car. They ran the license plate again. They looked at him. They looked at the insurance. They looked at him. And before they let us go, they said, are you sure you didn't steal this car? Are these things that you've given us fake? And that's what you get for working hard at your job as a young black man in this country. Am I saying that all police are bad? No. But what I am saying is the impression and the imprint of how police treat black people is indelible and impressed upon us all. So we get to watch a police officer put his knee on a man's neck, and while everybody around him is screaming, you're killing him, and while the man is pleading for his life and calling for his mother, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't flinch. 8 minutes. That's 60 seconds times 8. That's 640 seconds. And then you add another 50 onto that. He had almost 800 minutes to change his mind. And he didn't. And the 3 police officers that were with him, they had 8 seconds, 8 minutes apiece to say, hey, that's enough. And they didn't. Hey, that's too much. Hey, you need to get up. Hey, this is excessive force. Hey, this is illegal. Hey, you're gonna kill him. None of that came out of their mouths. And they wonder why people are calling for the disbandment of the police department. I was talking to my son about the unrest. And he was saying, oh, I should be doing something. Oh, I should be doing something. I should be out there. I should be out there. And I said, you should be. But please be careful, because those rubber bullets, they don't care about you. Neither do the people who are firing them. Because they're firing them into the protesters, not at specifically at the people who are vandalizing and looting. They don't care. If you're peaceful, they're firing the guns. They're firing the tear gas. They're firing the stuff that can maim you. No, it can't kill you, but it can rip a hole in your face. It can damage your lungs. And if you already have lung issues, or if you already have respiratory problems, it could cause major damage to you, because you want to stand up and say this is not right. So please be careful. And on top of that, we got a pandemic. So please be careful. I explained to him that people say that this is a problem that is from slavery in this country, and that this country is at war and at odds with itself because it didn't correct its sins from the onset of slavery, and it didn't say it was sorry at the onset of slavery. And the truth of the matter is this country was founded from a country that was a colonizing and enslaving institution. That is what they did. So this issue of people being dehumanized is not a 463-year-old problem. It's not a 400-year-old problem. It's not even an 800-year-old problem. For every crusade, for every conquer, for every moment that another village was taken over when colonization was happening, enslavement occurred all around the world. So that is why we don't want the police to be involved. Because really, the issue is not just the police. It's the whole damn system. From the beginning to the end. And I was talking to a friend of mine and I said to her, do you know that if they really meant to change this thing, every single world system around the globe would have to stop doing what it's doing, dismantle itself, and reboot, giving everybody equal opportunity, spreading out all of the resources among the people who rightfully deserve to have the resources in every country, and removing themselves from places that they don't belong because they're raping and pillaging and stealing the resources and the women and the villages and sometimes the men and sometimes the children. So I haven't been with you for 2 weeks because a part of me didn't have words. And I always try to be succinct. And I always try to be very poignant with the words that are coming out of my mouth. I try to speak life. I try to speak hope. I try to speak wisdom. I try to be an uplift, a force of good, and an energetic tick up, if you will. And for 2 weeks, it's not that I haven't been, but I have been more focused on taking care of the inside of me so that I would be able to be here for you, or here, period. So while I'm shedding light on this issue of racism around the world, because it's not just America, it never has been, and because the buck didn't start here, the buck can't stop here. Racism is systemic. And when I mean systemic, when I say systemic, I mean that racism is in the very fiber of everything that every country that lives and breathes right now was founded on, in some form, because slavery was how it happened. For England, for Ireland, for Australia, for Africa, for India, for China. Name a country. And there were slaves literally everywhere. So that's why the unrest, and the outcries are happening all over the globe at the same time. Because at the same time, we've come to a collective point in our blackness where we're like, this shit has just gone on too long. And how do we change this? Do we do what we were taught? Or do we do what we were taught? Do we do what we were taught by being quiet by not speaking out, by using nonviolence, by using everything that could cause us to have peace in our lives and be peaceful in this society and learn to get along? Or do we do what we were taught when the KKK would come to the black houses and the black neighborhoods and set it on fire? Do we do what we were taught when somebody said, that's not right, and they came and looked for the black person who probably didn't even do anything wrong and drug them out of the house in front of the entire neighborhood and beat them and set them on fire, and then set the houses on fire and burned up the neighborhood? Okay, that's looting, right? Raped the children, raped the mothers, took captives, killed everybody. Do we do what we were taught, or do we do what we were taught? I don't know. Somewhere in there has to be a place where we learn differently, where we do what we can that is going to be right for us all, because we are all here. We are all here. So do we do what we were taught, or do we do what we were taught? Or do we take the courage to start teaching from our hearts what we want to see in the next generation? Do we do what we were taught, or do we do what we were taught? A lot of people don't think of it that way. Do we do what we were taught in school? Be quiet, sit down, obey. Or do we do what we were taught? Get up, make noise, go find the person who you believe is responsible and make them pay. Do we do what we were taught, or do we do what we were taught? Because it's all learned behavior. As a black woman in this country, as a black woman in this world, as an American in this country, I submit to you that we, the black people of this country, are doing what we were taught, as well as what we were taught. Some of us are doing it the peaceful way. Some of us are not doing it the peaceful way. And some of us are not even involved in the looting at all. And the looting is not us, it's other people who are causing more harm than good. The example would be the white woman who burned down the Wendy's last night after the black man got killed. Nothing to do with Black Lives Matter, but everything to do with making an example of what could happen if the natives got restless. But then the natives are restless, aren't they? Because she burned down the Wendy's. Anyway. So that's why I haven't been here for 2 weeks. Because I've been stewing on how to talk with you and be wise. And the only thing that I can come up with in terms of being wise is at some point in this whole thing, when everybody is at a place where they can actually move without the onset of the anger from the centuries and centuries and centuries, or as my art teacher used to say, the millennia of time of oppression and colonization and oppression and slavery and oppression and redlining and oppression in schools, redlining and oppression, and not even redlining schools anymore, just not funding the schools. So there's a disparity in education. Just the whole thing, when people are no longer at a place where they want to fight about that, but they want to find solutions for that, that really gives equality for everybody. Case in point, and this is just me thinking out loud, the United States government did a $1 trillion package. Several billions of dollars, I believe, billions of trillions, can't remember, it was a B or a T, but what I know is they could have given every American $1 million and the economy would have instantly been stimulated. But did they do that? No. They gave us $1,200 in programs. So yeah, anyway, and programs where big businesses and banks are being bailed out once again, while small businesses are closing their doors, and the economic gap keeps widening. So when people are ready to really have conversations about solutions for everything, and really evening the playing field all over the world, that's when change will happen. That's when change will happen. When everybody steps down from the places where they control everything and other people control or have nothing, and the playing field gets even for real, where my business can get a loan as fast as another businesswoman's business that is not black, and I can get the same amount with the same interest rate for the same time period from the same bank, then things will be different. The wisdom in this whole thing for me is we have come to a place where we have to start really looking at ourselves, because it is the story that we keep telling ourselves that keeps this thing perpetuating all around the world. It is the story that we're telling our children that keeps this thing perpetuating every day, day after day, year after year, all around the world. And it is not until we start really telling a different story that things really become different. Because again, this is not a 463-year-old problem. This is a problem that is thousands of years old. It goes all the way back to the first pillaging of a sacred burial ground, where all the artifacts that were worth something to the person who passed away and to the memories of the people of the village were stolen and locked away. It goes all the way back there. Dream big. My dream for us is that we really work on getting it right this time. Not just making it fair, but making it fair, making it equitable, and making it just. And rewriting everything. And letting the real history of this world be told. That is my dream. It is a big dream, but that is my dream for this situation. Because black lives do matter. My life matters. My son's life matters. My mother's life matters. People's lives that I know and love, all of them matters. And people's lives that I don't know, that I've never met, that have the same skin color or skin tone or are of African descent and the African diaspora, all of them matter. Not more, but just the same. So I have a little bit left to say. I think I want to say dream big, be wise. The wisdom comes in looking at all the systems and every place, like leaving no stone unturned, for us to really be able to reshape this thing from the onset. Like really and truly tear it down and rebuild it. Not so that it is the same, but so that it is better for us all. That's the wisdom part of it. Will we be willing to really do that? Not just for ourselves, but for our children, for the children's children, for the generations to come. Plan it out. I don't have answers for the plan right now, but I do know we need one. I do know that we need a plan that's bigger than the 436 or 463 years that we've had this issue in America. It's not from the 60s. It's not from Jim Crow. It's not. It's not from the 70s. It's not from the 50s. It's not from the 40s. It's not from the 19 anythings. It's not even from the 18 anythings. It's not even from the 17 anythings. So the question becomes, when do we get to make the plan that works? So that we can do the last part and get it done. I came to you this week with a lot of questions. I came to you this week with a lot of understanding that some of you many of you may not have known that the police started out being a slave patrol, and that's why we don't want them. Because they're still patrolling slaves in some form. They're still capturing and hog-tying and killing slaves in some form, and it's legalized. That is the whole thing about them having immunity. I came to you with a lot of questions this week. Came to you with a whole lot of information. And what I wanted to do is to really take time to just say, I've been gone a minute. But I had to talk about it at this point. Because Black Lives Matter. They do. Black Lives Matter. So, thanks so much for watching the Wise Dreamer Podcast, being a part of the Wise Dreamer Podcast. I will be back real soon with more content like I normally do. But I want to leave this with you. I want you to take time this week to say a prayer for this world. Because this problem is not an American problem. It's not exclusive to the 400 plus years that we've been here. It is a is a problem that started with colonization. So it literally touches every black person in the world. If you could just get that, you would want to pray for something different. Because if we all get tired at the same time, it's not going to be good. So, say a prayer for us. Reach out to those that you know that might not be the same race that you are. And if you can't say anything, send them a text just saying, I'm thinking about you. It helps. To those who are my white friends who have been on my phone or in my inboxes or talking to me on social media or sending me texts and giving me love, I love you and I appreciate you for being who you are in my life. And I just want you to know that right now, if we can just get this right, this will never have to be addressed again. But systematically, systems that are over 400 years old need to be really dealt with. That's wisdom. From there, we can create a plan. From there, a dream can be born. And from there, we can actually get it done. So thanks so much for watching, listening, and being a part of the Wise Dreamer podcast. If you are watching the podcast on our YouTube channel, please take some time to like, to subscribe, and to please share this video with your loved ones, with those that you know. And also hit the button to be alerted of new podcasts as they come out. And please, if you are listening via audio, share it widely. Leave a comment. Please give me a rating and let me know how you think, what you think about the podcast thus far. And the content will keep coming. Thanks so much for being here again. Dream big. Be wise. Plan it out. Get it done.